Matthew 24:1. Jesus left the temple and was walking away when his disciples came up to him to call his attention to its buildings. Matthew 24:2. Do you see all these things? He asked. Truly I tell you, not one stone here will be left on another. Everyone will be thrown down. Matthew 24:3. As Jesus was sitting on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately. Tell us, they said, when will this happen, and what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age? Matthew 24:4. Jesus answered, Watch out that no one deceives you. Matthew 24:5. For many will come in my name, claiming, I am the Messiah, and will deceive many. Matthew 24:6. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Matthew 24:7. Nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. Matthew 24:8. All these are the beginning of birth pains. Matthew 24:9. Then you will be handed over to be persecuted and put to death, and you will be hated by all nations because of me. Matthew 24:10. At that time, many will turn away from the faith and will betray and hate each other. Matthew 24:11. And many false prophets will appear and deceive many people. Matthew 24:12. Because of the increase of wickedness, the love of most will grow cold. Matthew 24:13. But the one who stands firm to the end will be saved. Matthew 24:14. And this gospel of the kingdom will be preached in the whole world as a testimony to all nations, and then the end will come. Matthew 24:15. So when you see standing in the holy place the abomination that causes desolation, spoken of through the prophet Daniel, let the reader understand. Matthew 24:16. Then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. Matthew 24:17. Let no one on the housetop go down to take anything out of the house. Matthew 24:18. Let no one in the field go back to get their cloak. Matthew 24:19. How dreadful it will be in those days for pregnant women and nursing mothers. Matthew 24:20. Pray that your flight will not take place in winter or on the Sabbath. Matthew 24:21. For then there will be great distress, unequaled from the beginning of the world until now, and never to be equaled again. Matthew 24:22. If those days had not been cut short, no one would survive, but for the sake of the elect, those days will be shortened. Matthew 24:23. At that time, if anyone says to you, Look, here is the Messiah, or there he is, do not believe it. Matthew 24:24. For false messiahs and false prophets will appear and perform great signs and wonders to deceive, if possible, even the elect. Matthew 24:25. See, I have told you ahead of time. Matthew 24:26. So if anyone tells you, There he is out in the wilderness, do not go out, or Here he is in the inner rooms, do not believe it. Matthew 24:27. For as lightning that comes from the east is visible even in the west, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. Matthew 24:28. Wherever there is a carcass, there the vultures will gather. Matthew 24:29. Immediately after the distress of those days, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light. The stars will fall from the sky, and the heavenly bodies will be shaken. Matthew 24:30. Then will appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then all the peoples of the earth will mourn when they see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. Matthew 24:31. And he will send his angels with a loud trumpet call, and they will gather his elect from the four winds, from one end of the heavens to the other. Matthew 24:32. Now learn this lesson from the fig tree. As soon as its twigs get tender and its leaves come out, you know that summer is near. Matthew 24:33. Even so, when you see all these things, you know that it is near, right at the door. Matthew 24:34. Truly I tell you, this generation will certainly not pass away until all these things have happened. Matthew 24:35. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will never pass away. Matthew 24:36. But about that day or hour no one knows, not even the angels in heaven, nor the Son, but only the Father. Matthew 24:37. As it was in the days of Noah, so it will be at the coming of the Son of Man. Matthew 24:38. For in the days before the flood, people were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, up to the day Noah entered the ark. Matthew 24:39. And they knew nothing about what would happen until the flood came and took them all away. That is how it will be at the coming of the Son of Man. Matthew 24:40. 2 men will be in the field, one will be taken and the other left. Matthew 24:41. 2 women will be grinding with a handmill, one will be taken and the other left. Matthew 24:42. Therefore keep watch, because you do not know on what day your Lord will come. Matthew 24:43. But understand this, if the owner of the house had known at what time of night the thief was coming, he would have kept watch, and would not have let his house be broken into. Matthew 24:44. So you also must be ready, because the Son of Man will come at an hour when you do not expect him. Matthew 24:45. Who then is the faithful and wise servant, whom the master has put in charge of the servants in his household to give them their food at the proper time? Matthew 24:46. It will be good for that servant whose master finds him doing so when he returns. Matthew 24:47. Truly I tell you, he will put him in charge of all his possessions. Matthew 24:48. But suppose that servant is wicked and says to himself, my master is staying away a long time. Matthew 24:49. And he then begins to beat his fellow servants and to eat and drink with drunkards. Matthew 24:50. The master of that servant will come on a day when he does not expect him, and at an hour he is not aware of. Matthew 24:51. He will cut him to pieces and assign him a place with the hypocrites, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Jesus' words in Matthew 24 offer us a roadmap for navigating uncertain times, reminding us to stay vigilant, faithful, and hopeful. Jesus, in his characteristic clarity, outlined signs that would precede his second coming. He spoke of wars and rumors of wars, famines and earthquakes in various places. He warned of persecution against his followers, the rise of false prophets, and an increase in lawlessness and wickedness. These signs, he cautioned, would be like the beginning labor pains, uncomfortable and unavoidable, but signifying something much greater to come.
Now you might be thinking, haven't these things always been a part of human history? And you'd be right. But Jesus wasn't merely talking about isolated incidents. He was referring to an escalation, an intensification, a crescendo of these events that would signal his imminent return.
Imagine a symphony slowly building, each instrument adding its voice, until it reaches a powerful, unmistakable climax. Think about it this way. Have you ever noticed how the first few leaves changing color signal the arrival of autumn? Or how the first few chirps at dawn announce the break of a new day? Similarly, these signs, though seemingly ordinary on their own, together paint a clear picture of the changing seasons of our world, pointing towards the culmination of God's plan. One particular sign Jesus emphasized was the abomination of desolation. This prophecy, rooted in the book of Daniel, refers to a time when something sacred will be desecrated, a profound act of spiritual rebellion that will signal the end is near.
While interpretations of this prophecy vary, its essence remains clear. A time of great tribulation and spiritual darkness will precede the glorious return of Christ.
Imagine someone vandalizing a place you hold dear, a place of worship, a cemetery, a monument of historical significance. Such acts evoke outrage because they violate something sacred, something we hold dear. The abomination of desolation represents a spiritual desecration on a much grander scale, a blatant disregard for God's holiness and authority.
This sign, however, is not meant to instill fear, but rather a sense of urgency. It's a wake-up call, a reminder that time is short, and we must be about our Father's business. We are called to be salt and light in a world growing increasingly dark, sharing God's love, truth, and hope with those around us. After describing these sobering signs, I unveiled the heart of the matter, my triumphant return. I painted a vivid picture of that glorious day. The Son of Man, radiating glory and majesty, will descend from heaven with a shout, accompanied by the mighty angels. My appearance will be unmistakable, as visible as lightning flashing across the sky, illuminating the entire earth. Imagine the most awe-inspiring sunrise you've ever witnessed. Now, magnify that 1,000-fold. That's a glimpse of the splendor that will accompany my return. This is not a time for doubt or fear, but a time for unimaginable joy and anticipation. The King is coming back for his people.
This is the hope we cling to, the promise that sustains us. No matter what storms we face in life, no matter how dark the world may seem, we have this incredible assurance. Jesus is coming back, and when he does, he will make all things right. Knowing the end is coming should not paralyze us with fear, but rather motivate us to live each day with purpose and intentionality.
Be ready. Live in a state of constant preparedness. My return will be like a thief who comes unexpectedly. You need to be vigilant and spiritually alert.
Think about how you prepare for an important event. A wedding, a graduation, the birth of a child. You make arrangements, you finalize details, you ensure everything is in order. In the same way, we need to be spiritually prepared for Jesus' return. This means nurturing our relationship with him through prayer, studying his word, and living a life that reflects his love and grace.
Just as a soldier stays ready for deployment, we too must stay alert and vigilant. This doesn't mean living in a constant state of anxiety about the future. Rather, it means living each day with eternity in mind, making choices that honor God and sharing his love with those around us. While the world may offer us uncertainty and fear, Jesus offers us hope and assurance.
My words in Matthew 24 are not meant to scare you, but to prepare you, to encourage you, to fill you with hope. I assure you that I am in control, that I know the end from the beginning, and that I have overcome the world.
Imagine a sailor navigating a stormy sea. The waves may crash, the wind may howl, but he keeps his eyes fixed on the lighthouse, knowing it will guide him safely to shore. In the same way, we fix our eyes on Jesus, our beacon of hope, our source of strength, our ultimate destination.
So, let's live each day with purpose, with passion, with hope. Let's be the light in a dark world, sharing God's love and message with everyone we meet. And let's live with the confident assurance that our Redeemer is coming back soon,